Hello and welcome to Dose of Inspirational Light podcast channel. So I launched this Dose of Inspirational Light channel late last year in May, following a gut instinct. Some people discouraged me saying there's plenty of other channels around, but something still told me to keep going. I've always been attracted to inspirational, motivational content with positive quotes, sharing, etc. with my friends. So much so that I kept getting requests for more. So the launch of this channel last year was to inspire myself because I felt that I was at my lowest moment late last year with lots of self-doubt, lots of fear, a lot of anxiety. And I went through some major changes personally as well. You could even say that my batteries were fully discharged. So through that came this channel to uplift myself and in the hope to uplift you guys as well and provide some inspirational content. The journey began with my yoga teacher, and you've seen a lot of videos of Victoria and I doing a lot of videos on various different topics. Late last year, at the end of October, I did a course. The course was a spirituality course with somebody called Sister Ananya, and she belonged to Brahma Kumari Australia. And so I wanted to start the launch of this podcast channel by inviting her to this channel. So Sister Ananya, thank you for joining me on my very first podcast.
Thank you so much, Shikha, and many blessings for this channel.
Thank you so much. I'm very blessed that you have agreed to do this with me despite your very busy schedule. So thank you again. Very grateful. So I wanted to talk to you about, firstly, this course that I did, and through the course of our discussions, and I will tell you what are the things that resonated with me and how it has changed my life, if I could say that way. I am becoming, I tease my friends all the time saying that I'm getting a new version of Shikha 2.0. And you have a very big hand in making me that. And we will talk about everything that I learned through that. But let's start with the basics. So I call you Sister Ananya. And since I've come to Brahma Kumaris and I do a lot of meditation with Brahma Kumaris, I just wanted to first ask, why do we address each other as sister and brother? If you could answer that, please.
I think it's a beautiful way of reminding each other that we are part of one family, and in reality we are all to each other, brother and sister, which brings a family feeling of love and belonging. And so that's why anyone we meet, rather than just saying their name, first name, we say brother and sister as a reminder to my own self and as a reminder to the other person that in reality we are part of one big family, world family. So that's why.
That's a very beautiful answer. And it's so good that, and such a big reminder that we are actually one big family. So there shouldn't be any need for any other kind of feelings, if everybody is linked together. So so this course that I did through you, and thank you very much for being my mentor and taking me out of that period of the lowest that I think I've been in my life so far. So I appreciate your teachings and your guidance. So Brahma Kumaris in Australia. So tell me about Brahma Kumaris for those that may not even know a little bit about it.
So Brahma Kumaris is a movement dedicated to transforming the self, and as a result of that, transforming the self from within, transforming the world. So it's a movement dedicated to transformation of the world for the better and the self. This started in 1936, that time before the India-Pakistan partition. It started in Pakistan, and from there on, this movement has now reached many countries in the world. I would say more than 130 countries today. There are students, spiritual students, who are part of this spiritual study and who daily come to the centers. So every country, every state has many centers which are open for all people from all walks of life, different cultures, different religion. And they just dedicate 1 hour to nourish the self, food for the soul. And so in that 1 hour, we learn how to manage our remaining 23 hours. And so that is what this movement is about. And here we focus on rediscovering the innate qualities of the self, which is peace and bliss and happiness. So this is the movement, and it has started in Australia in 1975. Since then, we have many centers in Australia, and we are giving courses every day. We are giving courses in every center, and in different languages, many languages, since Australia is such a multicultural country. So we have courses in many languages where one can learn how to meditate, how to heal the self, how to heal any emotional trauma, heal any anxiety, and just have a very positive perspective on life, on the purpose of life, and for each other and for this world.
That's really beautiful. I did this course and I was actually very amazed that it's free of cost. And, with everything that you've just said, that you run so many courses in so many centers, and you don't charge anything for it. And this is something new because a lot of people do charge for their courses. Is there a reason behind not charging your students?
The reason we can say there are many reasons. First of all, when I started on this journey, I had a similar question, and I felt, I realized as I was learning and exploring more that something that has the power to absolutely change or transform my life in such a profound way, I feel that something like that is absolutely priceless, no matter what amount of money I put into it, but it's still never going to be enough. But I feel the main reason for not charging or having any price tag is that so it's accessible to absolutely everyone. And that's the main reason that that the Brahma Kumaris never charge for any teaching or any service, so that it's accessible to all. And the aim is that everyone in part of this world family rediscovers their true nature, because it's everyone's right to realize that we are naturally peaceful and naturally happy beings. So I'd say that's the reason. And so the centers and all over the world, these services are run on voluntary donations. So anyone, who benefits, or anyone who wants to, so that is part of the reason why, just like a family, there are some members who can support what is being done. Some members cannot support, some members are good in teaching. So this is a family, brothers, sisters, and those who can. So everyone is doing what they can. If somebody can teach, they're teaching. Somebody can, donate some monetary or give some financial resources. Somebody can donate their time. Someone else can give in their skills and talents. So everyone is doing everything as part of just voluntary donations, because this is a big family.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. I'm so happy to be part of this family now. So thank you for inviting me with open arms. Now, there's a lot that I learned, and one of the fundamental things that we all know and hear about is meditation. And, I never knew how to meditate because the brain, it just ticks and ticks. And it's, I used to think that the whole concept of meditation was to letting go of thoughts, until, I got explained of exactly how to meditate. Could you elaborate a little bit on what meditation is and how people can actually meditate and why it's important?
Yes, meditation is a way of, is the, one of the ways in which we can permanently heal the self, right from the core, the seed. And in order to do that, in order to be able to heal the self, like there are two words, medication, which is healing the body, and meditation, which is healing the self, the master of this body, which is the seed, the soul, the self. And in order to start healing the self, the first thing that we do is coming out of the confusion of this identity crisis. So first of all, knowing, understanding who I truly am. Whenever we have any sort of physical illness or physical ache, we always say that, my hand is hurting, my head is hurting. So the one who is saying, my hand, my body, really stabilizing myself in that true identity, which is the self, the soul, and then rediscovering that, in fact, in reality, the nature of this true self is beyond, anxiety and beyond being disturbed, and the true self is undisturbed. It's a blissful being. And so when we come out of this confusion, of this identity crisis, it becomes very evident that even this world that we are living in, where we are interacting, is in fact a stage, and so we're all actors here. So we stop, looking for security in the wrong place, because if I confuse, a table to be a chair, then I will be disappointed. So if I confuse this world to be my home, then there's definitely going to be some irritation, some anger, some sort of, pain, feelings of pain. So meditation is all about rediscovering the beautiful, the perfect self, and coming out of the confusion, having the clear picture, the bigger picture of who I am, what this world is, and where my home is. So,
And, I always used to think people who meditate are those that have retired and are, sorry to say, older generation who have a lot of time on their hands. And even just the concept of meditation was not cool, enough even for my generation. And now with Gen Z and millennials, it's sometimes some of them definitely do not consider it to be cool. Now, for those who are listening and perhaps from that era, what would you like to say to them in terms of meditating? Is it something that they should take up now, or should they wait until they're a little bit older? Or because there's a lot of things that you've covered and we know the importance of it, but is that importance cool enough for the young people that are listening today?
I'd say meditation is a way of being, a way of living, and having, dedicated some time towards healing the self is an absolute necessity, because at any given point of time, if I stop taking care of my, say, physical body, there is going to be some issues there. And so that's why it's a good practice to take care of the physical body, and be in touch with, what's happening and what's not. Similarly, taking care of my own self, my own mind. We may be ignoring, sometimes the mind, a lot of feelings and emotions that we're feeling today, because everyone's feeling the same things. Everyone's getting angry and everyone's getting, or let's say that we see more and more people experiencing those same feelings and emotions. We tend to believe that because everyone's going through that, this is normal. And so just because the majority is getting disappointed and majority of people worry and majority of people experience stress and pressure and anxiety, we tend to believe that it's normal. However, if as an example, physical body, if my hand is aching absolutely every day, and let's say everyone's hand in my family starts to have some issues, we will never say that it's normal. If one person has cancer and the other one does too, and 5 or 6 in a family do, we're not going to sit and relax that it's normal. We're going to do something about it, because we understand that this is a disease. It's not normal. Normal means to be healthy. Normal means to be well, to feel well. And so I think we have forgotten what is the normal for the self. For the soul, it's very normal to always feel secured, to never feel insecure. For the soul, it's normal to never have worries. It's very normal to feel safe. It's very normal to feel confident, to feel that I am loved by all. And if that normal, if that normal is missing in my life, then it's a sign that I'm not taking care of myself. So I think meditation is an absolute necessity, and many do realize it, and many do attempt it as well. But because we've been, so distant from ourselves from such a long time, that the process of just sitting in silence, observing my thoughts itself becomes like a challenge. And so some people leave it in between and it becomes so scary for them. But I feel that, the journey is beautiful, and the journey is, once we start seeing the results, the positive results of taking care of ourselves and healing ourselves, the results is that, if with a stressed mind, we are able to do so many tasks today, manage so many responsibilities, get a promotion, then just imagine what we can do with the being who is always feeling perfect. So yes.
Okay, very nice. So I mentioned at the start that the course that I did transformed my life, and it's still work in progress. But one of the things, apart from meditation, that this course taught me was Raj Yoga. Now, for the purposes of the viewers, what is Raj Yoga?
Raj Yoga means that becoming a master. It's a self-mastery. So as part of a meditation, what we're actually doing as part of meditation is self-mastery, becoming master of the senses, becoming master of the mind. Sometimes we want to focus on something for 1 hour. I want to study and do my homework, finish it in 1 hour. But, after 1 hour, I've just read 1 page. And so I want to focus on something, but my attention goes in 10 different directions. So becoming a master. So self-mastery, Raj Yoga means self-mastery. And the practice, the way to do that is meditation, which is becoming clear, becoming clear by seeing things, knowing things as they are, so that we never get confused. A table is a table, a chair is a chair, and so we don't confuse the two. And similarly, as part of the meditation. The entire process is just to, see things as they are. We may get upset by someone, disturbed by someone, but if I understand that, that the person is just playing a role, they're playing their part, and so it becomes very easy. There's no scope of getting disturbed there, because when we come into this world, we are very much aware that change is the the only constant here. And so when we know, and when we are hearing this and saying this to each other, then we also know that the world is always going to be unpredictable. So if my friend today says something which was unpleasant, or somebody betrayed me, the rule is, the law is that change is the only constant, which means that everything is unpredictable. And so then there is no scope of feeling disappointed and hurt, and there's easy acceptance, there's easy approach to life, a very light approach to life and all our relationships.
Mm. Yes, there's a lot to unpack there, Sister Ananya, and hopefully pack that in little snippets coming up. But just, this is an introductory podcast, so I'm just going to keep it to the basics, and hopefully our viewers can ask us more questions, because there's a lot of in-depth information you shared in that one answer. Okay, so, in metaphoric terms, for example, we've got a car. We use that car for our purposes, going from A to B, and so on and so forth. But, if the car eventually has a puncture, our first reaction is a pretty wild one, which is, oh my God, how did that happen? What do I do now? And our reaction is pretty bad, because perhaps we didn't foresee that puncture happening, or we've got that car and we've just taken it for granted. So just in terms of that, the reason I probably talked about this metaphor is because there are times when, personally in my life, I find that situations come, and instead of responding to them in a calm, collective way, I react, and probably less so than I was doing a year ago, but I react with, irritation, with frustration, with a little bit of raised voice, etc. So what is it that we can do that can make us a little bit less reactive and more responding to situations? Because, as you said, change is the only constant here. So how do we handle that change in a calm, collective way?
Yes. Now what happens here is that any reaction or response that we have to absolutely anything is a result of my understanding. So the intellect, understands, perceives things, and which means my perspective. So, science says that we have 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day on an average. And so if there's anxiety and panic, then the number is even, the number increases. And so what we're doing here is, we're not going to sit and change every thought. What we're doing is, majority of the thoughts, what's the perspective behind that thought? What's the understanding? So from understanding, there are thoughts. So, for example, if my understanding is that the car has to be perfect, today my day has to be perfect, and I've got everything planned, and so everything will go according to the plan, and that's my understanding. And so on the basis of this understanding, if there is a slight change, which we know is the only constant, then there is definitely going to be a negative response or a reaction, and so through meditation, we have a very easy approach towards meditation, which means just having the right perspective. Right perspective means that this world is a stage, and all of us are actors. All the actors are playing different characters, and so the actor and the character, are two different things. Yeah. And so if somebody is playing the role of Mr. Universe, so they play the role of Mr. Universe. When they go back home, they go as John, they go as Peter. And so when they interact with their family, he's not going to act like Mr. Universe. He's going to interact as Peter or John. But here, what's happening is that because our perspective is one of confusion, because of that, the natural response and reactions are, in that direction. So first thing that, knowledge, or the first clarity that we gain, is that everything in this world, has a beginning and an end. And everything here is constantly changing. Yes. And that's why, the law of the stage is that it's unpredictable things happen here. And so when I'm clear with this, sometimes, what happens is, I was having a chat with someone and they were sharing that I walked into this showroom seeing, big signs of 80% sale, and it was such a big brand. And I walked into it, I got a few items, and I was so happy it's 80%. And then when, they went to the counter to pay, the receptionist, the cashier said that, do you see that below that, 80% sale, it has one small line which says that only for members. And so, are you a member? And she said, no, I'm not a member. And he said, okay, well, then I have to charge you, the full amount. And the person was so upset, and, we can imagine. And let's see what really happened here, that the instructions were very clear, but we happened to ignore it just because the font was very small. And so even in this world today, which is a stage, there are very clear instructions that everything has a beginning and an end. Everything is going to change at one point in time. And that's why everything's unpredictable. So having this very clear understanding, when things, don't go, in the way that we wanted, there's a natural acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that I agree with it. If somebody has a different idea on something, I don't agree with it, but there's a natural acceptance that yes, they have a different perspective. Change is the only constant. And this person, yesterday, they were saying, they were agreeing with me, but today they are not. And so there's acceptance. With this acceptance, what happens is that the turbulence in the mind, that's not happening. There is natural, as you said, natural approach to things is one of, lightness, easiness, no disturbance. And the more, if one starts to live their life in that way, the journey of life becomes one filled with inner treasures, inner richness. The richness of virtues and powers, and in the time of need, I can be able to support, everyone and anyone, because the life, inner life is of, richness, because there's natural acceptance. And so all of my thoughts, because my understanding is clear. So now the 60%, the 60,000 or the 70,000 thoughts, they're going to be in the same vibration. Because there's no confusion in understanding. So we're going to work on the main seed, the perspective. What is my perspective in life? I am thinking that she's my friend and she's always going to be my friend. And I miss the small label that life is unpredictable. It's a world stage and unpredictable things happen here. And so today, when my friend betrayed me, I'm so upset and I feel betrayed and I feel ashamed of myself. I feel anger. And that's not a very clever way of living. When
Mm.
we know the instructions beforehand, it's not a very good excuse that I didn't read it, just to pay such a big amount because I didn't read the instruction is not a very clever thing to do. So spirituality, gives us an option to live life in a very clever manner. Clever, by clever, we mean that in a higher consciousness, in the right perspective, right position towards the
Mm.
self, everyone, and the outside circumstances.
Yes. It's a very big word, probably heavy for some people that you've just used, which is the word spirituality. If we could just break it up a little bit, what is spirituality?
As we were talking about identity, so our true identity, the true self, which is the spirit. And so living from that true identity is called spirituality. So my
Mm.
true identity is that, we're all souls, we're all energies.
Mm.
And energies are playing different characters. The actors, the invisible actor, which is the spirit, the soul, is playing different roles, is playing different parts. One is playing of a chef, another one is playing of a prime minister, another invisible, the soul, invisible actor is somewhere a professor, somewhere a doctor. And so spirituality means that in my interaction with others and the way I see myself or the way I interact with myself is not on the basis of this role that I'm playing. No, because today, if I am very well identified with the role, I don't, I have forgotten that my true identity is of this invisible actor. Then what happens is today I'm a doctor, today I'm a professor, and tomorrow this university shuts down. Tomorrow I'm no longer a professor, or I'm no longer a doctor. And then there is lots of negative emotions, negative feelings in the way how I see myself and in the way how I interact with others. Yesterday I was so happy because my understanding is that I'm a professor, and today
Mm.
I am feeling quite ashamed to interact with my friends because I feel, how are they going to see me? How are they going to judge me? And so that respect for the self is missing. The respect for the self is coming on the basis of roles and characters that I'm playing, which again have a beginning and they have an end. I cannot forever be a professor. I cannot forever be a doctor. There's going to be someday there's going to be an end to that role, to that character. So
Mm.
spirituality means, my vision for my own self, and in my interactions with others, a very clear understanding that outside labels,
Mm.
there are labels outside, but inside
Mm.
it's an invisible actor. And so operating from the identity of the true self is spirituality, which makes our experience of life very, very smooth and very playful. There's no scope of any sort of emotional trauma. There is no
Mm.
scope of deep wounds, because the identity is clear.
Mm. Yes. Last year, before I even met you and did this course, I was in a very a corporate job, which I've been for a long time, and I enjoy it thoroughly. But I was working really long hours,
Yeah.
and I said something personal happened with my dad passing away just in terms of context. And it made me realize that, you know, for me personally, all I've been doing is basically all I am is a human doing, because all I do every day is just do, if that makes sense. So in terms of my daily, it's just a whole checklist of tasks, whether I'm a mum or, you know, whether I'm a, you know, a person at work. You know, there's a whole lot of checklist. And I wanted to change myself from the fact that I don't want to be a human doing anymore. I actually wanted to be. I wanted to be a human being, that, as the name suggests. And I was never, you know, not the person who would go and smell the roses or look outside the window, because the tasks were so many. So that was what I was trying to achieve through what you've just explained about us being an invisible actor coming down to play our part, and we're in fact souls. This was whole new transformatory knowledge for me. And, you know, all I wanted to do was discover myself as a human being. And what I actually discovered was quite profound, that actually I'm a spiritual being, which, you know, which actually blew me away. So it's amazing what you set out to do and what, you know, the reality is. And reality can be perception of various different so-called truths. Now, you've used the word, I mean, we've used the word spirit, you know, hence the coming from the word spirituality, and you've used the word soul. What is soul and where does it reside? And how do we know that we're souls?
So our reference point, you know, for the world and everything is from the perspective of truth. So truth is our reference point, you know, whatever we are speaking about, you know, right now, and whatever we practice in our spiritual practice or part of meditation, it has a reference point, which is of the truth. And from that reference point of truth, we know that we understand that the body has a beginning and it ends at one point in time. The body, the physical body, it is mortal, you know, and the actor, the invisible actor, the soul, you know, that is immortal, you know. So the eternal truth is that the spirit is even before the body, you know, it'll be after the body, because it's an energy, and energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So that means it's immortal. And so these things, you know, many things that we're discussing here, probably, you know, it with the, you know, egoic mind, or not the egoic mind, but in I'll break that down. Egoic mind, which means that, you know, seeing things only at the gross level, you know, the outside level. We often want proof, and we often want a lot of reassurance from the outside. However, the truth is such that it can only be experienced. You know, a lot of things that we're discussing here probably are not something that can be proven, you know. So the soul, the self, you know, resides just behind the eyes in the body. We can say it's sort of, you know, in the midbrain. Yes, it's at the front part of the midbrain, and that's where the pituitary gland is. And whatever the soul experiences, pituitary gland, which is the master of all glands, so whatever the soul experiences, because of its perspective, you know, on the outside world, if there is subconscious, you know, if the identity of this invisible traveler is that I am on the basis of my religion, my nationality, my profession, then there is subconscious insecurity. You know, there is an insecurity that is always going with me anywhere that I go, because at one point we deeply know, you know, somewhere we deeply know that all these things are not permanent. You know, everything that we identify with at this point in time it can be changed. You know, even you know, religion can be changed, nationality, the age of the body is changing every year. So everything's changing. And so that is why when I identify myself, the invisible actor identifies itself with something that is going to change eventually. There is a subconscious, anxiety, there's subconscious insecurity. And because of that subconscious peacelessness, the thoughts that I think, the way that I think, obviously the thoughts are going to be one of disturbance or some sort of expectation and everything on that spectrum. And so because of that, the pituitary gland, and all the hormones in the body get, regulated and get affected on the basis of what the soul is seeing, thinking. And so as my thoughts start to change, the body also starts to change at many levels, because the hormonal balance within the body, that is established. So when my perspective is right, through the practice of meditation, when my perspective is right, the reference point for everything is the truth, identity is right, then there is a natural hormonal balance in the body. And so the body also becomes, that's why many people want to meditate to achieve a healthy body, to achieve a body that is, does not have blockages, and a naturally fit and active body. And as a result of meditation through the practice, that can be achieved. That's not the whole sole purpose of meditation, but yes, that's a result. That's an obvious result.
Okay. Is pituitary gland that you refer to the same as the pineal gland that is here behind the eyes, you said? Is it similar or?
Yes, I think pituitary, yes.
Yeah, okay. So pituitary gland being similar to the pineal gland.
Yes, I am not very sure about that. I don't know if we have to cut that question or not, but I'm not very sure about the scientific terms here. So I'm telling you, Shikha, we can cut this. I can do my research and we can have this question again. Just a minute. I'll just see that. Yeah, so pituitary gland is the master gland, and pineal gland is one of the glands. Okay. So pineal gland is related to the melatonin, which is, I think, yeah, I don't know what melatonin. I know that it's related to skin and the skin color, but pineal gland is the master gland. Sorry, pituitary gland is the master gland, which regulates all the hormones in the body, and pineal gland is one of the glands. So maybe we can take that question again.
Shall we take it again?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. So is the pituitary gland same as the pineal gland?
Pituitary gland is the master gland, and pineal gland is one of the glands. So I think we may need a special, person who is very well, educated in these scientific terms. But yes, that's what I know.
Okay, and that's where the soul resides. And in terms of, you were saying before when we were talking offline, I think certain inches down and across.
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
Yes, just in the mid braid. It's like 3 inches from this side and 2 inches from the top of the skull. That's where the soul resides.
Yes. Okay, perfect. No, that makes sense. So the soul, from what I understand, is linked to one of our 7 chakras. So if I have to elaborate, in terms of chakras, because we've talked about chakras on this channel before, the 7 chakras, how is that related to self?
So the soul, the true self, as we were talking before, is naturally, it has 7 innate qualities. Like anything in this world has natural qualities, like, air, or wind, anywhere water would have the same properties, some innate nature. Whether we have a campfire in Australia or Nigeria or Spain, it has the same properties. It's going to give heat and it's going to give light, and so on and so forth. And so similarly, the quality of the soul, no matter what the character and the role the person may be playing, but every soul has the same 7 qualities, innate qualities, and which is knowledge, peace, happiness, bliss, power, purity, and all these 7 qualities are related to one aspect of the body, the physical body. And so the soul is connected to the body. So, for example, the knowledge, the virtue of knowledge, within the soul, it's related to all our, neurons, the memory and neurons and the brain functions. And so, similarly, in that way, happiness, the innate quality of happiness is related to the digestive issues. And so, in a way, whenever we have a sort of a physical illness, we can actually identify which virtue is lacking or which virtue needs to be focused on through the power of meditation. And so every quality of the soul, the 7 qualities that I just mentioned, like power is related to our muscles and bones. And once the soul is filled with all the 7 qualities, or is realizing, the 7 qualities, the body also becomes balanced. All those diseases start to very slowly vanish away. Yes.
Yes. It's funny because Victoria, who I do some videos with, she always says disease as in the body's at dis-ease, you're not at ease. And you need to, and pain is one of the indicators which tells you that there's something wrong and you need to fix it.
Yes. And so the fixing, and so the fixing here happens at the level of soul, the seed. So we can understand that the soul is the seed, and everything else is just part of a reflection of the seed. And so if the seed is well, then the reflection, even the body, is going to be well, whether it's finances, whether it's career wise, whether it's relationship. My relationship, if the seed is well, then the relationship with everything else, relationships, with other human beings, and even, financial, in every aspect of life, there is going to be wellness. But if here there is some sort of lacking, the inner richness is lacking, then there is, definitely, as you were mentioning, then pain is an indicator to understand, what's lacking here, where I need to focus on.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. There's more to everything that meets the eye. And, one of the qualities being knowledge. There's so much knowledge that we need to absorb. And I learned through one of the actors in India, and people, non-Indians may not know, but his name is Sushant Singh Rajput. And one of the quotes that he mentioned that has resonated with me once I watched his interview, it says, the more we learn, the faster we continue to learn. So it's not like, that, the initial knowledge will take a certain amount of time, but the more knowledge we gain, the faster we're going to continue to learn. So knowledge is such a powerful indicator. So I'm on the journey. So let's see where it ends. Okay, so I think we've talked a lot. There's a lot of heavy topics. There's spirituality is a new topic for some of us. It has been a new topic for me a few months ago as well, and there's a lot to uncover. So I just want to break it up here and just say a big thank you for coming on my very first podcast. There is a lot that I want to talk to you about, and some of the topics will be such as trust, self-confidence, seeking validation from others, perhaps also talking about, we touched upon the reaction and the non-reaction, reaction versus responding, talking about judgments, talking about a whole array of topics, self-doubt, anger, controlling ourselves. There's a whole lot of sections. So I could be talking to you all day long, but let's take a break for this very first episode, and hope to do more snippets with you. And we'll be back for our many other sessions soon. And just for the viewers listening, there are new topics that I am bringing to the table. One is about body positivity with a body positivity model. And the third one that is confirmed is a coach who is doing manifestations. And she's basically a coach on manifestation. So that's coming up soon as well. Thank you so much, Sister Ananya, for this time that you've given me today. Thank you very much. Any final view? Anything else you want to say just before we end our very first episode?
So I think all viewers and everyone listening can, take meditation as a part of realizing, our own original beauty and divine nature, and enjoy the experiences of life.
If they wanted to contact you, how would they do that, Sister Ananya?
We can, put all the centers link. And we can put the link of all the centers and everything. And even we can have my email ID probably, that, so people can contact if they want to directly contact me. But otherwise, to learn meditation, yes, we can have the website.
Yeah, so go to your nearest Brahma Kumari Center. It's probably on our website, www.brahmakumaris.org. And from there, you can see the centers in Australia, but I will be sharing the link as well. Thank you so much again, and a pleasure talking to you, and be back soon with more episodes. Thank you so much.